to the Kamado Show. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Coley. We are the brother-sister anime duo. And not in a love you like a brother or sister kind of way, but as in a go ask our mom, she's the same person.
This show is an anime lover's safe haven catered toward the average anime lover, free from spoilers.
So today's episode, we're going to be talking about the live-action Netflix adaptation of One Piece, episodes 3 and 4. This episode might get a little lengthy, so we are going to break it up into two parts. So let's get right into it.
Okay.
So, what are your opinions on the characters, the new characters? Like, what do you think of Usopp?
The actor who plays the adult, Jacob Gibson, I think does a phenomenal job. And, you know, I kind of mentioned in the first, our second episode, but really kind of the first one about One Piece where, you know, I don't think they should do exactly the way the manga does as far as looks. Like for example, his nose does not have to be the big Pinocchio nose. What, you know, doing what they did, I think was great. I think he looked great. I think his acting was spot on. But what do you think?
They really created more realism with Usopp, just not having the crazy nose. Like, he looked like a human. Like, he is supposed to be human, so it's nice that they didn't give him any goofy extra features. I like that they had some diversity. It's not just, like, the same people playing the same roles. But so I was really happy with who they chose for the adult actor.
What about the kid?
Oh, that kid. Oh, God bless him. But man, it was just kind of rough to watch.
Do you feel like he was like, almost sounds like he was reading the lines off camera a little bit?
Yeah, he didn't do much in the way of acting. He was just kind of reading the script. There wasn't any emotion or like anything in his acting. So
what about Klahadore or Captain Kuro, as depending on who you know, he wants to go by Klahadore, but Captain Kuro is kind of really his you know, more long established name. What do you think of that guy?
I thought he looked really cool. So he had the perfect clean cut butler look down. Like, he really looked the part. He looked like the anime version of a Freddy Krueger when his claws came out and everything. Those were pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah, it felt like you're kind of in almost like a horror movie the way once he pulled those out and they were in the mansion.
He was really cool. Like, his acting was great. Like, just his whole vibe I thought was perfect. But what did you think of Kaya? So Kaya was another new one this round too.
I like Kaya. I thought she did well. Also, I'm trying to think. I mean, she portrayed a sick person pretty well, but also very gentle, kind, which is, would you say that's sort of sums up how the anime is?
I think that's pretty on point for Kaya's character. I think she's just a sweet girl and good friend to Usopp. But yeah, she was sickly, so she looked the part. She was pale. So I think they did a really good job portraying her character, and that actress did a very nice job.
I think so too. Yeah, that's how I felt.
I was surprised at Mary's screen time. Like, I felt that Mary had a lot more screen time in the anime and played a much more major role than what he did in the live action.
I don't remember that character that well, which maybe that's why they cut some of his screen time. Yeah. Because I'm trying to remember back to those episodes, and I'm like,
he was much more of a influential character for Kaya. So he just seemed like he was kind of more so her guide and guiding character. So he was actually the influence of the Going Mary.
Okay. All right. Hence the name. Okay. Okay. But yeah, but I mean, he didn't die in the anime, did he? Did you say that already?
He didn't die in the anime, but he did in the live action.
Okay.
So, which was funny because it kind of changed a little bit of how Kaya found out that Klahadore isn't who he seems. Jumping ahead a little bit to when Mary dies. So in the anime, Mary was the one who told Kaya, like, hey, Klahadore attacked me. Like, he's actually a bad guy.
Okay.
Where in the live action, it was Nami and Usopp who told her. So
Okay.
she in the anime, Kaya didn't believe Usopp when Usopp told him, "Hey, Clawdor's a bad guy." So Mary had to tell him and confirm. So there was just a little bit of a change there. So I don't know if that changes the dynamic a little bit between the two of them.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I agree that like he just wasn't as involved in this one. Okay, so while we're on the topic of characters, we kind of skip ahead a little bit. So we're kind of go through the characters, and then we could talk about maybe the plot and a few other things later on. We see our very first look at the fisherman. So in particular Arlong. You know, what do you think of Arlong?
Arlong was really cool. So I thought he had the very intimidating gangster kind of vibe. His henchmen looked a little goofy, but Arlong looked really cool.
Yeah, I just thought my only thing is in the anime, I feel like he's more. Yeah, how many times does he throw his head back and go
That maniacal laughter.
Yeah, he didn't get that as much. He's just like more kind of serious gangsta kind of sounding, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but he didn't. He seemed like a little more like, while yes, serious in the anime, but also like just laughed a bunch of things off. So that to me was a little strange, and you know, I always think of Hercule or Mr. Satan from Dragon Ball Z when I cannot like.
Wahaha.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the same. I'm pretty sure that's the same actor, but man, when he has like just the voice for Arlong so much deeper and everything in this one, and it's so much more serious. Ooh, I don't know how to feel about that yet, but
Yeah.
you know, kind of the same feeling we had with Buggy. Or Buggy was a little
Buggy
kind of
was a
darker,
little spookier.
Yeah,
It's a little spookier in the live action.
which I guess maybe that's a theme. You have the kind of this creepy look with, you know, Clawdor you mentioned being kind of like Freddy Krueger vibes, and then Buggy seemed a little kind of creepy, but also
Like
kind
Joker vibes.
Yeah, and which I mean, Joker and Suicide Squad was kind of.
It's a little
Kind of
darker.
darker and a little more gangsta too.
Okay, so we talked about Usopp's child actor. Let's talk about Zoro's child actor. We got the first glimpse into Zoro's childhood. So what'd you think of Kuina and Zoro?
When I first saw Zoro, I was like, "Wait, is that the same?" No, that's a kid. Okay, but I thought they casted the adult and the child actor real well for Zoro. Kuina, I guess I don't have a whole lot of. She wasn't in the anime that much, so
Yeah.
like I don't have a whole lot of opinion there. But you know, I know they did like that sword play, and I remember.
Yeah,
at one
I think
point-
both of them did a really good job with that. The sword play was really cool. So they had the wooden sticks where they were fighting with those wooden sticks before, and then of course Zoro like gets all grumpy and is being a sore loser and is like, "Well, it's because we have the wooden swords. We need to do real swords, and then I'll beat you." So Kuina's like, "Okay, well, let's play with real swords then and duel." And then she kicks his butt again.
Yep. And then of course we have her death. We don't really know how she died, right? We just know somehow she died, and it seemed pretty quick.
Yeah. You wonder like what happened. Like, was it an accident that she died, or was it suicide? Because this all happened right after her little speech about like men and women, like, oh, she's better swordsman now than Zoro. But once they both start growing, like Zoro is a man, so he's going to be bigger and stronger than her as a woman, and eventually he's going to surpass her, and there's nothing she can do about it.
Just seems so naive, like knowing what we know now about the Grand Line and when they get into the new world. But you know, for this time at point where everyone's at in the story, you know, well, okay. But yeah, I don't know. Do you think do you think that she was that disturbed by it for suicide?
I don't know,
So I was a little
because
surprised to hear you say that.
well,
but-
this was her dream. She wanted to be the greatest swordswoman in the world. So just kind of the realization that that dream is never going to become a reality could be potentially soul crushing for her. Like if I can't complete my dreams or chase my dreams because of the way I was born, like is there any hope? Like what's the point? But of course we don't know.
This is an interesting idea.
Yeah, we did end up, that was kind of how we figured out how Zoro at least acquired one of his swords. So we did the funeral when he was a child. They're probably around 10, you think?
Yeah, that'd be my guess. Maybe 10. Maybe
Okay.
smidgen older, but yeah, that's
10 to 12
probably a guess.
range,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, but they're doing the funeral with all the little karate kids and of course Kuina's dad is kind of in charge of everything. So Zoro talks about how him and Kuina made that promise to each other that they're both going to train really hard every day to one day one of them become the greatest swords person in the world. So Kuina's dad ended up giving him the sword after Zoro asked if he could have it, like to honor their memory and to honor that promise. Kuina's dad kind of said, well, you have to carry on this dream for the both of you. But all of this is going on during his reminiscing while he's at the bottom of a well.
Bottom of a whale. Bottom of a like 20-foot well, maybe more. I don't know. Anime physics, and he lives through it. He wakes up and like it was just a dream.
Just a little bump on the head. It's fine.
I mean, only in anime you get smashed over the head with a, I think it was a glass bottle or something. Then you get hit over the head with, then dumped into a well like that. And this well looks like the well kind of from The Dark Knight, where it's like, no one can climb out of it. And he somehow does after getting smashed on the head with the bottle and getting thrown in that deep. But, there's Zoro for you, I guess.
The well, aside from all of the murders and like body dumping that goes on in the well, like how many bodies do you think are down there? Because they dumped Mary's body down there. They tried to dump Zoro down there.
Well, the house sure seems pretty empty. So
maybe that's why we don't see any staff.
Yeah, where'd they all go?
Like we don't see anybody in the garden, so we kind of get a view of this garden with the well. You don't see anybody out like clipping the hedges or tending to the flower beds or anything. It's just like it's just the undercover pirates and Mary.
And not even very many of them.
Just 3 of them. But her garden, aside from the lack of maintenance, apparently, it's beautiful. Like she has the panda shrubs and the seahorse shrubs. So it was really pretty. The house in general is really pretty. It's huge. When we first go inside, we see the dining room and there's like the plates all over the walls. You see the plates. Like, what did you think when you saw that, or did you notice?
Probably not as much as what you did, but I think that was a good opportunity for, Nami, because she eventually goes around and steals stuff. Good placement to give Nami an opportunity to steal, because that's her thing this early in the series, where she's a thief and that's her focus. What about you?
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on that?
I don't think so. I mean, it was kind of funny to see how big the house was, and of course, like, Zoro's gonna get lost because that's who he is. That's his MO.
Yeah, that's always his thing, getting lost. Which, oddly enough, in the anime, Luffy in this arc was the one that got lost, but it wasn't in the mansion. It was running from one end of the island to the other, and not Zoro, oddly enough. But Zoro eventually takes the thunder of being the guy who always gets lost.
So they really kind of focused on serving Kaya all this different blue stuff, and later we find out that all this blue stuff that she's been consuming is poison.
Which in the anime, of course, they say she's sick, but they don't necessarily say it was poison. Now, I guess we can probably guess maybe it was just depression over her family. Maybe it was just everyone telling her she was sick, so eventually she just started believing it.
I don't think they ever really technically specified in the anime. I think they said in the anime that it was just a sickness of the mind, which you could put together as depression.
Yeah, so what about the I guess the appearance of the town? I didn't think that much of it, but you had some thoughts.
I mean, it wasn't anything wild. It did have the small town vibe, so I think it matched up with the anime. Kaya's house was really cool. I felt like we saw a lot more of Kaya's house in the live action than we did in the anime, so we actually got to go inside Kaya's house and kind of see.
I wonder if they did it that way because you have close-ups of these streets downtown, but I don't recall seeing a ton of wide shots. Maybe it's budget issues. If it was like hard to shoot a bunch of wide shots like that, so they keep things sort of small and tight to keep. I don't know, that's my guess. But if you remember how small the island is in the anime, they say, okay, it's about a 3-minute run if you go from here to where the pirates are gonna actually land at. All you have to do is head north. Luffy runs off, clearly not in a direction that's north, as you find out, and he runs to the other end of the island, runs the wrong direction, and then runs back. So it must not be that big of a
small town, small island.
Which is funny because it's Luffy getting lost and not Zoro.
Yeah. But Zoro does get lost.
That's true, yeah.
So when he was looking for the bathroom, when they have the dinner, he gets lost there.
Oh, okay. And that's in the live action, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, okay, so what about, let's see, what have we covered so far? You talked about Kaya's house, which is one of the things we were going to discuss. The differences we noticed between the live action versus the anime.
So Buggy made another appearance again here in the live action, and he actually had the conversation with Arlong, which didn't happen in the anime.
Right.
So
yeah,
Buggy
I
was
that.
really stirring the pot with that, hey, Luffy's the guy you should be going after. Leave me alone. Luffy's the guy that you should be going after, which was a cool change. So it's interesting that he's stirring up trouble for Luffy.
Yeah. Well, in such a short series, I understand why they did what they did, but yeah, and I don't think he was in his, head, hands, that small form. So I was like, oh man, they kind of missed that. I would have been a chance for some humor there if he was still stuck like that. Let's see some other differences. Usopp in the shipyard.
Yeah, so Usopp doesn't work in the shipyard in the anime. He's just some guy that hangs out with kids on the island in the anime.
The Usopp
pirates.
pirate crew, or what do they call them?
The Usopp Pirates.
The Usopp Pirates? Oh, man.
Yeah, so it was interesting. They kind of actually gave him a little more of a adult role in the live action. So he actually has a job and is kind of being a productive member of society, aside from being crazy and yelling that pirates are coming all the time.
Well, and it gave us a first glimpse at the Going Merry, which, plot-wise, that's essentially why they went to the island, but to sort of move that ahead and hey, here's, everyone's like,
little
oh,
tease.
I like this ship and all that. So I can see why they did that for plot purposes and sort of teasing ahead to, really just foreshadowing that, that's essentially gonna become their ship eventually. As I said, thoughts on the look of the ship. Yeah, I mean, what do you think? I guess I don't have a whole lot of thoughts. It had the what do you call the front of the ship again?
The figurehead.
The figurehead. Okay.
So it's interesting. I looked this up. The figurehead is actually the embodiment of the entire vessel, and it provides the crew with protection from the harsh seas, and it protects them on their journey. So there is a reason that they choose different figureheads to kind of embody the spirit of the vessel. So the spirit of the Going Merry is a sheep.
So when you say they choose the what the front of the ship is going to look like, it's basically the shipwright or whoever builds the ship. That's their choice, you think? Because I guess in this case, Luffy and his crew just kind of took whatever they could get, really, which happened to be that. And then eventually, that gets changed out. I don't know if that's like Frankie's choice or the crew. How do you think that gets decided? Do you think that's the ship? The person who builds the ship?
I think it's up to the shipwright then. Okay. So like Mary was kind of in charge of the shipyard. So like he made his own likeness out of their ship, which I thought was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But if you had to choose a figurehead, if you had your own ship, what would you choose?
Maybe an eagle.
Oh, America.
Well, not just America, but it symbolizes freedom. And maybe it's because we're talking about One Piece. I'm thinking like the freedom of being on the sea, just like that thing of it, exploring. And again, maybe it's because we're talking about One Piece and I was thinking of this, but like, symbolizes freedom, strength.
Yeah, I like
what else?
that.
Vision. So I guess that's why I thought of that. But maybe I come up with something better later on down the road. But what about you?
Eagles are pretty cool. I would go with a jellyfish. So jellyfish, like they're graceful, they're beautiful, but they can mess you up real fast.
Sting you.
If you mess around and find out, they can really mess you up.
Go fishing for them like on SpongeBob.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sting like bees.
But we'd like to hear from our audience what you'd pick. What would you pick for a figurehead if you had to have your own ship? Would you choose something like what we chose, or would you choose something different? Leave us a comment below.
Yeah, that'd be great to hear. See what other people's thoughts are. Maybe you have better opinions or ideas than what we had. But yeah, go ahead, share your ideas and go from there.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, let's go. What are some other differences? I guess we see a little more Kobe in the live action, right?
We are seeing a ton of Kobe in this anime. Well, not anime, live action.
Sure, yeah.
So against the anime, like you see him a little bit in the beginning, like Luffy saves him and they're off on their own paths. He's going down the marine path and Luffy's off to be a pirate, and that's basically as much as you see him. And then you see him a couple glimpses later down the road after he's grown a lot and changed a lot. But
yeah, and I'm wondering if this trend will continue, where kind of focus on Kobe a little bit more on this than in the live action. Or I'm sorry, in the anime, you almost see him a little more in between arcs, just like a little quick, here's what he's been up to deal.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It almost seems like they're kind of gearing us up for Garp and Kobe to be like the main antagonist against Luffy, that they're going to go head to head at some point and clash. Mm-hmm. Because Kobe does even appear up on the island again to kind of mess with Luffy a little bit. But yeah. I guess not necessarily mess with Luffy, just he hears pirates are there and he's a Marine, so he's got to do his job and stop the pirates.
And so like with Garb taking Kobe under his wing a little bit is even playing the board game, the scene where they play that board game, do you think that's sort of symbolical of him training him, which we haven't really seen him really running him through all the intense training like we see a little bit of in the anime. It's just that board game. Do you think that's sort of kind of symbolizing
that?
It seems
like it is symbolizing like Garp's taking him under his wing and he's going to train him to be like the next big thing. And he's going to be a force to be reckoned with at some point down the road. But he's going to mold him into the perfect Marine so he can really just take charge one day and maybe even someday take Garp's place.
Okay, so on that note with Garb and Kobe, so Garb is training Kobe to kind of like essentially become him maybe someday. So that's on the Marine side. Luffy on the pirate side is what do you think that means for him? If
Kobe's gonna take Garp's place someday, it would make sense that Luffy would be king of the pirates. He's gonna take Goldie Roger's place.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think eventually that's essentially we'll see these two, while they're friends, natural enemies just by the nature of the Marines and pirates. But yeah, we'll see where things go there. But of course, I don't think this is like a crazy spoiler if I'm going to talk about Goldie Roger and Garp's relationship, which, I mean, if you don't already know, I guess pause, skip ahead, whatever, but you probably already know they, while they were natural enemies, they did have to work together at times. And of course, Garb raising Ace, Roger's son. So, Rogers knew that Garp was a good guy, and they were, ultimately they respected each other. They knew each other were good people, but they were just natural enemies.
They were both good people in their own ways. It's just,
which is ironic because in episode 1, and focus on the live action, they show Garb there at the execution, and really secretly you think he probably was like really torn that he had to, but at the same time, Roger probably was honored that he was the one who stood over him at his execution.
If he was going to go out, he's the one that Goldie Roger would want to do it. Mm-hmm. So it was a befitting end, I feel.
Yep. Moving on, we have this wager between Luffy and Nami of the ship. Do you think Luffy would actually go through with stealing the ship if Kaya hadn't, agreed to give him a ship?
Yeah. So the wager between Luffy and Nami was like, hey, I'm going to talk Kaya into giving me a ship, but if this fails, we'll steal a ship. But I mean, Kaya's a good person. So like Luffy stealing from Kaya.
And rich. So it probably isn't that big of a deal for her.
Yeah, true. But at the same time, like, if he's stealing from a good person, do you think that would make Luffy kind of a bad guy at that point? Like, because Kaya didn't do anything wrong. They're not entitled to a ship from her.
Right, yeah. I think it would make him more of the stereotypical pirate that he's always not following. So, so following the theme of him not really following the traditional pirate of stealing and stealing and doing all kinds of terrible things, where he's actually a good guy. I don't think he would have stolen a ship, but knowing just the way Luffy's luck and their crew runs, I think some other dumb incident or some occurrence would have happened where they just somehow got the ship. Just because that's always how things happen in One Piece.
Things just always happen to work out in some way. Like, that's just kind of the nature of what One Piece is. It's like, you don't always know what you're doing, but you go for it and you do the right thing, and things are just going to work out for you.
Similar to this podcast, things are, I think, just going to fall into place. And like I said, we're a couple episodes in now, and thank you for those who have been watching us. Again, things are going to fall into place. Just like for Luffy's crew, we're figuring things out as Luffy goes along. And so thank you guys for hanging with us. That is all for today's episode of the Kamado Show. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Coley. Thanks for tuning in. Don't be a Kamadope. like and subscribe to our channel for more anime fun with your favorite brother-sister anime duo.
More episodes come out weekly, so let us know what you would like to talk about next, and we will see you next time on the Kamado Show.